Good morning, Quadcopter 101 here, and today's shout out goes to Nick Marco. Nick was first to say first in one of my recent videos, and thus wins his shout out, so congratulations. Good morning, Quadcopter 101 here, and I have a review of a neat new drone, folks. This is the eMax Easy Pilot, ready to fly, beginner's indoor FPV racing drone. It comes with everything you need to fly FPV. Okay, including the goggles and the controller. Controller's already bound to the drone, ready to go out of the box. The drone's FPV transmitter frequency is already connected to the goggles. You don't have to go searching, although you can go searching and change these channels if you want. But let's go over what we got here. Again, I mentioned it is a beginner's learn to fly. It is as a beginner's drone, this is a brushed motor drone. It's not brushless, with 0816 motors. 816 brushed motors, and the idea being, you know, as a beginner, you don't want a lot of power. You're going to break your drone. You get too much power on your drone and go smacking into walls. You want to have a gentle flyer, and that's more or less what this is. This is a very gentle flyer. I've already tried it out indoors in the house here, and it was very easy to fly around the house. And it has a special beginner's feature. I'm going to mention it here shortly with the controller that makes it very easy to fly by most pilots. You know, the average person really, I feel, would be able to, who has never flown before but has some video game experience, should be able to fly this very easily on their first try with the goggles. I really tried it last night. It was very easy, and I'll explain why here shortly. But let's go over what you get with the drone. The drone is an FPV transmitter, FPV micro racer drone. It's a whoop style drone, which means the propellers are protected by these ducts, and these ducts also help improve the efficiency of the propellers to provide more lift. The disadvantage of these is these create drag if you're flying fast, but this particular drone is not meant to be a fast flyer, and it is not. Okay, they're advertising it as an indoor drone because of that, because it's not very fast, doesn't have very high pitch, although I will be flying it outdoors to demonstrate it, that it can be flown outdoors, or if it can't, we'll find out. But again, FPV racer drone, let's start from the tip of the camera and go down all the way to the motors and there. We'll start with the camera. The camera is a 600 TV line FPV transmitter camera, or FPV camera, 600 TV line, with a 37 channel, 25 milliwatt FPV transmitter built in here. Now you can change the channels of those frequencies and bands. There is a little black, I'm looking for the button here oh, there it is, it's in the back here. Let's see if I can bring it up close enough that you can see it, but there's a little black button in the back there that you have to depress and hold down the change between the different frequencies and bands of this FPV transmitter. In other words, this is not smart audio capable. You can't change those frequencies and bands with the controller and the goggles. You're going to have to manually do that if you need to. Okay, again, I did mention that this is already set to the same frequency of the goggles, but it's a very simple process. You know, you press this button a few times to change the frequency. If you're getting interference with the current frequency you're using, you can change those frequencies to look for a clean frequency that doesn't give any interference. And then you just press this button here, the one with the A on the goggles, to auto scan the goggles and find that particular frequency transmitting from the drone. So you can do that, okay? Other things about it, the flight controller on this particular drone is not modifiable via Betaflight. There is no micro USB port to plug in Betaflight if you wish to change any of the flight parameters, and I don't think you should actually, because of the different flight modes that this drone has, and I'll mention them right now. It has beginner, intermediate, and expert. Now, in beginner mode, you only have yaw control of the drone. With yaw and pitch control, there is no roll control of the drone. In fact, using the transmitter, if you want to fly forward, you press forward, and if you want to turn, you go to right or left on the stick, or if you can fly backwards and turn right or left on the stick too. It's very similar, I'm going to say this, people will be shocked, to Grand Theft Auto. I play Grand Theft Auto a lot. It's very similar to driving a car in Grand Theft Auto. You know, so that's why I'm saying, if you have any micro, or if you have any gamer experience, this will be a good drone. You'll be able to take to this drone right away. Okay, and that is in beginner mode. In intermediate mode, which you activate by moving the switch from beginner to intermediate, which is the second position, you lose that ability of using the right stick solely as your means of controlling the drone, and it becomes a more or less a standard drone with altitude hold. Beginner mode, it also has altitude hold. I forgot to mention that. When you're in beginner mode, to take off, you have to bring the stick above center position. Okay, center position maintains the drone's altitude even if it's on the ground, but you arm the drone, and then you have to move the stick above center position, and the drone will take off and start to climb, and when you get to the altitude you want to be at, you center the stick, and it will maintain that altitude. That's true for both beginner and intermediate mode. Okay, there's two modes for the beginner and intermediate pilots. And in that case, we're talking about intermediate mode. The drone will take off, and then you center that stick on the throttle, and then you, with the throttle in intermediate mode, you now have yaw control on the left stick. Okay, just as a standard Mode 2 controller with throttle, yaw, pitch, and roll. You now also have roll control, so that beginner's mode goes away in intermediate position, becomes a standard Mode 2 controller with altitude hold on the drone. And then finally, in expert mode with this, which you activate by bringing the switch all the way forward, it's still Mode 2 control with throttle, pitch, yaw, and roll. However, it turns off the altitude hold. Okay, in that case, you are going to manually need to maintain altitude via the throttle. Okay, and learn throttle management in that case in expert mode. Now, expert mode does not mean this has acro. This drone is not capable of flying in acro mode. It's still stabilized in all three modes, very gentle in all three modes too. Even in expert mode, it's not that fast of a flyer. But with that in mind, like I said, this is intended for beginners, and I think it's an excellent beginner's mode because of the way I was able to fly around the house in those three modes last night. It was very easy, especially the beginner's mode. I was surprised how easy it was, and again, I feel just most of anybody could be able to fly this FPV racer indoors right off the bat. Okay, now let's talk. I forgot to mention this has 4-in-1 ESCs to go with 3 amp ESCs to go with this particular drone's motors, 816 motors, and it is only powered by a 1S battery. So again, don't expect a lot of oomph out of this. This is not going to win any races, folks. Again, it's a beginner's drone to learn to fly FPV. Just a very gentle, tiny whoop flyer for beginner pilots to learn to fly FPV. Now, let's talk about the other things you get in the box. I've mentioned you get this controller. The controller has a built-in battery, rechargeable battery that you charge through a micro USB port right there. It has an on-off button you hold down for a few seconds to turn it on. And again, I mentioned these switches, did a quick brief mention of these switches, but the switch on the left is how you arm the motors. Forward is disarmed, but when you want to fly, you bring the switch back to armed, and now the throttle should work with the drone. The drone should be able to lift off. If it's forward, the drone will not take off. Bring the throttle back, put the throttle down, and then slowly bring it up until the drone lifts off the ground. That's how you use the arm control. Again, the switches on the right lets you select between beginner, intermediate, and expert. All the way forward is beginner, center position is intermediate, and all the way back is expert. And again, we have throttle control on the left, yaw control also on the left, since this is Mode 2, pitch control. I mentioned yaw control. Since we're talking about beginners, yaw means turning right or left like so. Pivoting right or left, and you can, again, in two different modes. In beginner mode, the yaw control is on the right stick and it has pitch control, but there is no roll control. Again, in intermediate and expert, we have yaw control on the left stick with throttle, and pitch control means moving the drone forward like this or back like that, and the drone will either fly forward or back with pitch control. That's how you get forward and back movement. And then roll control will tilt the drone to the left or tilt the drone to the right, so it'll slide left or right. Now, other things you get in the box besides this, I forgot to mention these buttons here. These are trim buttons. If the drone is not flying steady, if it slides around a bit, the first thing you need to do is put the drone on a flat level surface, and then you flick this right switch back and forth 6 times, and that will calibrate the gyros for level flight. However, if that does not work well, even if you did that and it still drifts a little right or left, you can do some minor adjustments using these trim buttons. And this would be for trimming the yaw, right or left. You press these buttons repeatedly until it stops doing what it's doing. If it's drifting to the left, you press the button to the right, and if it's tilting to the right, you press the button to the left until it stops. Same goes for throttle control. However, I don't know why you need throttle. Well, since this has altitude hold, you can adjust that throttle position if you don't like how it's going up or down. You know, if it's climbing a little bit too much, even in center, you can reduce that by pressing that button here. Again, you have pitch control trim right here and throttle trim right here, and they work the same as the buttons on the left. So let's turn this off and go over what else you get in this box. You get the instruction manual. Now, the instruction manual is very well written. However, it is postage stamp writing. Okay, my old eyes, I really need to use a magnifying glass to be able to read that. So keep that in mind, folks. If you're an old person, you're going to need a magnifying glass to read that thing. You also get stickers with it. I've already put on the stickers for mine. You get some extra stickers to put on the drone. You can decorate it because it doesn't come decorated out of the box. You get a micro USB cable, and that is for charging this particular controller, and also for charging the battery of the goggles. And the battery of these goggles is a 3.7 volt 1800 milliampere hour battery, very high milliampere hours. I expect to charge this in about two hours. If it still shows charging after 2 hours, if the red light's still red, pull it off anyways, because 2 hours should be more than sufficient to charge this with a wall charger on that, and you don't want to overcharge that particular battery. Other batteries you get 450 milliampere hour LiHV battery for the drone that powers the drone. Okay, it slides in like so and plugs in like so, and you get this little micro USB or USB port charger for that LiHV battery. Do not try to charge LiPo batteries, standard LiPo batteries, because this will overpower them. This is an LiHV charger for 4.3 volt, 3.5 volt batteries. LiPo batteries are rated up to 4.2 volts, and this would overcharge those. So again, LiHV only. And if you hear snoring in the background, that's my dog. She's over in the right here sleeping, taking a nap. You get a spare set of props with this. You get a screwdriver, spare screws, spare grommets in there, the battery, and you get the goggles. And the goggles actually are very nice. I think these are Tinyhawk goggles. But the thing I like about them, two things you get. It has the capability for two dual antennas and be able to switch between dual antennas. However, the one that you get with this, they only give you one antenna. At least I only got one antenna. But the buttons on it are, this is for entering the menus to adjust brightness and contrast. This is for auto scanning. You press this button and it will automatically search for the frequency of the drone's FPV. Or you can manually do such by change the channels and frequency bands by pressing this button here. Another thing on the goggles is it has this very nice Fresnel lens. Fresnel, however you pronounce it. A magnifying lens inside here for old eyes like mine. I slide it all the way back, and this works wonders. So if you're nearsighted, this will be very nice goggles for nearsighted folks. It is powered again by this 3.7 volt 1800 milliampere hour battery, and that should give it more than sufficient power for many flights with this particular drone. Now, those looking for spare batteries for this, again, it's 4.35 volt with pH 2.0 connector. These are standard micro FPV racer batteries. They're widely available, so you'll be able to find spares for this particular drone. So that's about it. That's the eMax Easy Pilot. Let's take it out in the field, even though this is an indoor flyer. We're going to fly it outdoors, see how it flies. So hope you enjoy this flight. Good morning, Quadcopter 101, and we were at one of my favorite flying fields to fly the eMax Easy Pilot. Now, I already have the battery inserted in this. We're ready to go. This is a spare battery I got here because I want to try to do 2 flights today. We're going to try line of sight flying first, and then we'll do FPV flying. However, I will be recording the FPV video from the drone using my Viper goggles. Now, the eMax goggles do not have a built-in DVR in them, so that we're going to need to use my Viper goggles to record the FPV video. So, okay, to arm the motors, you bring the switch back like so, and we're going to start in beginner mode, where I am going to be steering it strictly using the right stick. But to get into the air, we need to give it throttle, pass up and down. Wait, I need to turn this on first too. Sorry about that, folks. Making sure it's on. Okay, it's on, the transmitter is on. And arming, beginner's mode, and then giving it throttle. and then centering the throttle. Just pick a center position and it will maintain altitude. Now notice, I only got control of this drone via the right stick. So if I push forward, it turns, and I turn it like so. See? So very easy to fly this in the house. Right now I'm flying it outdoors because there's no wind today. But this will not work outdoors if there's any wind, folks, in this position here. But in this position, it is extremely easy to fly around the house. I was doing it last night. Let's go up a little bit higher. Give it a little more throttle. Turning it around. And that's why I think that just about anybody could fly this. You know, in FPV mode. Indoors with this method, this beginner drone, positioning. It's very, very simple. It's a very slow drone in beginner's mode. So it should be easy to maneuver easily around the house. Let's bring it up close. Going forward. Coming over. Showing it up close. So pretty cool, huh? Okay, let's go into intermediate mode. Intermediate mode, now we have an actual mode 2 control. So we got to yaw with the left stick. As you see here, I'm turning it with the left stick, and we can slide to the right and slide to the left now using aileron control. And again, but we still have altitude hold. You just place it somewhere near center position and it'll fly. But the idea being with the altitude hold, the beginners don't need to worry about throttle management, adjusting the throttle to keep it in the air like you do with a more advanced drone. Now I'm going to go into advanced position and I'll show you what I need to do now. Advanced, expert. Now I got full throttle control over it. You know, and now I got to adjust that throttle to maintain altitude. And it is a little bit faster. We got more pitch authority. You know, it's still not super speedy. Still good enough for beginners to fly. It's just it's meant now to teach throttle control. But again, there is still stabilization on this, so there is no acro ability. There is no flipping that we'll be able to do with this. So those are the 3 positions, beginner, intermediate, expert. Now let's put it on the pad and let's start FPV flying it. So let's put it on the pad, folks. Here, I'm just going to land it there and disarm. So hold on, folks, while I put on the goggles. Okay, I am going to be using the eMax Tinyhawk goggles here to fly this drone, and still recording with the Viper. So I got the goggles on now, and let me adjust them a bit so I can see better. And arming the motors, and we're going to start off in beginner mode. So taking to the air and pushing forward. And adjusting. We don't need to adjust the throttle. We should be good to go. Let's see how well I can maneuver this little drone. Like such. Oh, I hit the tree. Now the transmitter on this is not the best, but it's working. Coming through again. Let's come down a little bit lower. Lower, 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 lower. Okay. And going through the trees again. I ain't going to try that hard one there. That one was a little too tough, but we can go through that. Maybe I can go up above this tree. No. There's my dog. You heard her snoring earlier this morning. Okay. So again, you know, very, very slow, very somewhat easy to fly it in this position. And if you bump into things, notice. You don't lose it. So now let's go into intermediate. We're going to be actually flying mode 2 now. Going up a bit higher too. Let's take it up above the trees. I'm still in max position there. Going to intermediate now. And coming over our heads. And it's still very slow. But now we're outdoors. I'm going to go to advanced now. And get some more speed on this thing. Now I got to maintain the throttle. Oh, that battery's gone now. Let me switch the batteries, folks, and we'll continue on. Hold on. Okay, I can put a fresh battery in here. Now we're going to fly it in expert mode. See if we can get a little bit faster and longer flight time out of this. But arming the motor, or putting in expert mode, arming the motors, and again, I'm going to have to manage the throttle myself now. So we'll go down here a bit. Turning the drone. And again, I'm adjusting, manually having to adjust the throttle myself this time. So let's just bring it around ourselves here. You know, it's not a fast drone as you see here, folks. It's not meant to be. It's a beginner's drone. And even in expert mode, it's not super fast. It's still relatively easy to fly for, like, beginner pilots. As they progress, they should be able to easily adjust to this and go a little bit faster, okay? Through the house or through the trees or wherever you're maneuvering yourself around. Oh, I knew I'd do that. Hold on, my wife's going to go get it. Hold on, folks. Don't watch my wife's hand. Hold on, here it goes, my love. And continue on. Again, very easy to fly as long as you don't try to too difficult to maneuver. Right now it's getting a little slow, so I might need to calibrate my gyros a bit, but I'm going to just fly it slow like this. I don't want to hit that tree. I know it's going to want to hit that tree. So, coming around slow. Now, I'm going to need to calibrate the gyros. So, pushing forward as hard as I can here. Or reset the gyros, actually. Let's see if I can land on that landing pad. I'll get close to it. There. Okay, now I'm going to let it sit there for a second. And while it's sitting there, I'm going to hit the right stick 6 times. And that should reset the gyros. Let's see if I can take off from that position there. And pushing forward. That tree has got me wanting to go through it. I'm trying my best here. But it has picked up a little drift right now. So I'm not going to try to do that tree until I land on that landing pad and reset the gyros on a proper flat surface. Because it wants to fly backwards right now with this drift. See how slow it's going, folks? I got full forward pitch on it. Again, beginner's drone. We're going to put it on the pad. I'm going to put it on the pad real quick. And again, demonstrate how to recalibrate the gyros if you get a drift like that. So, you place it on the pad on a flat level surface. This is approximately a flat level surface. And you move this right stick up and down about 6 times. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The more the merrier. Okay, so we should be good to go again. Let me double check with it disarmed. Okay, so those gyros should be calibrated and it should be good to go now. So let me give it another shot. Put my goggles back on, making sure I don't accidentally hit the channel changing button. And going to expert mode again and take it to the air. There we go. Now I got some speed on it. Now I can put some speed on this thing because the gyros was building up a drift, and that can happen with a lot of these lower end drones, that you get a drift build up, and the way to counter that is to recalibrate the gyro, which I showed you how to do. I'm not going to try to go through these harder positions here with this, because even though it's kind of a windless day, there is still a little bit of wind in the air. Coming by us here, going around that tree. So it goes slow enough that most people should be able to fly this, even in expert mode, as I'm doing here. And expert mode is just beginner's mode, really, with full throttle control, normal throttle control, mode 2. Some speed. It's about as fast as it goes, folks. Now there's a little bit of wind in my face right now. I'm trying to fight into that. So that's why it goes better downwind than upwind. Let's go up high. Show the area. Go up higher. Showing you can't fly up higher if you want to do such with this. And then coming back down. Reduce the throttle. So all in all, I think this is actually an excellent beginner's FPV setup. One of the best that I've seen so far. I've seen a lot, folks. This is one of the better ones
One of the easiest to fly, I gotta say that, out of all the other FPV, beginners FPV, micro racers, drones. This one's the easiest to fly out of the bunch. Especially that with that beginner mode where you're just using yaw control only, and the motor's starting to get weak now. That's about it. I'm gonna land it there. Okay, and give you my final thoughts on this. I'll take the hat from my wife. Thank you, love. And where's over there? Past my dog. She had a nice nap this morning. So, easy pilot, it really is. You know, easy to fly. I gotta say, the eMax Easy Pilot. I actually recommend this one for beginner FPV flyers wanting to learn to fly FPV. This one is pretty cool, especially that you get goggles to go with this. So when you advance past this, you can still use those racer goggles with other micro FPV racers, since it's a standard 5.8 gigahertz goggle. So, hope you enjoyed this flight. Quadcopter 101, signing out.
Hi, Quadcopter 101 here again. Hey, if you want to get your own shout out in one of my future videos, make sure you subscribe to my channel. It's real simple. Just go to my channel page and click on that subscribe. And also make sure to click that bell button right next to the subscribe button. That way you get notified when I release a brand new video immediately and give you a chance to get that first shout out. So give it a try, folks.